Okay, so I got the sound the best I could. I don't know if I'm getting, because I know there's some background noise. I got my fans shut off. I don't know what else it could be picking up, except it's just picking it up from the laptop itself. I'm still working on that. Hopefully I can get that figured out. I couldn't use this microphone. I'm using the computer's microphone. And I'm going to see if I can't clean that up a little more, get some of that background noise out of there. But for right now, we'll have to live with it, because this is all I got. So, today is Daniel 7. Today is the first chapter of all of the prophecies that start coming up. This is going to be a big one. There's going to be a lot here. I hope I can get it all. Right now the house is quiet. Hopefully. We'll see. It possibly could be a two-parter. It depends on how things go. It's hard to do videos in this house. It is horrible to do video. Everybody's so noisy. Talking, getting phone calls. It just non-stop noise. I struggle. That's why I hide back here in the bathroom to do normal videos, because I can't get everybody to be quiet long enough for me to do one. So whatever. So we will do it here. We're going to start with verse 1. Daniel's vision of the four beasts. Now you guys remember what happened last chapter. Daniel was in the lion's den. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head while on his bed. Then he wrote down the dream, telling the main facts. Interesting little tidbit of sentence right there. That little piece of sentence, telling the main facts, that means there was other stuff involved in this. There were other details he didn't write down. Which means there's more to the story. Verse 2, Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. Why is that capitalized, the great sea? He's seeing where you hear about the celestial shores. I think that's what he's seeing. It may be he's talking about space. Sometimes space is referred to as an ocean. Verse 3, and four great beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. My general consensus here, and I'm illiterate when it comes to most of this stuff, I'm just going by what I see and based on the little bit I know. This seems like Britain with America's help. I watched till its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. I wonder when that happened. Well, I don't know, just fairly recently, last few years. Britain stood on its own without America's help. I don't know. Just spitballing here. And suddenly another beast, a second like a bear. Well, what nation has bear as its representation? Russia. It was raised up on one side and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And they said thus to it, arise, devour much flesh. What's Russia doing right now? I don't know. Just spitballing here. Guys, what he's doing here is he's giving a layout of what's going to be happening at the end. But I want you to notice something different in the next section when we get past these first 8 verses. After this I looked, and there was another like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. This is a coalition of nations. It had multiple heads, multiple leaders, and dominion was given to it. It was made to rule. Go look at what the leopard represents, and the wings could be other nations. So, I mean, there's a lot here. Obviously, I already told you guys in the beginning, we're not going to be able to cover everything. We're not going to be able to do an exhaustive study in this because I don't know enough, and I'm kind of trying to make sure I can do the whole video in one shot. But you can go look at this. I mean, actually, we can just go and check right now. Okay, so what nation is represented by the coat of arms of Somalia was adopted on October 10th. It features a golden framed shield of the Somali flag supported by 2 leopards standing on spears. The leopard is a common animal seen in Somalia. So this would be down south of Israel. That would be down in the south parts of Israel. beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So now you know roughly who that's going to refer to. Now, also, this could loosely refer to some Middle Eastern areas. I'll tell you what, since we're here, since we're going to dig into this, let's dig into this. Leopard. What's the Hebrew word for leopard? 5245. The word is nemar. It's from Chaldee, according or corresponding to H5246, a leopard. Okay, so it's just a leopard. Nothing special about it. The beast had 4 heads. Let's take a look at that. Wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 arba, 4 heads, corresponding to H7218, the head, figuratively the sum, chief, head, sum. It's leaders. The chief. It's 4 leaders. So it could be a multitude of nations. It could be 4 nations connected to this one. And dominion, an empire. Now you can look back in time and see another empire when this could fall into place. But this isn't something that's relating to before times. It's relating to future times. Verse 7, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. This would be the great dragon. This would be another coalition of nations. Dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. And it had 10 diadems on each of its horns. Diadem would be a little jewel. So there's a whole lot of leaders, groups of leaders running this thing. So it'll be 7 groups of 10. So 10 nations under a head or a leader. In 2019, an agreement was signed in Israel, starting the 70-nation coalition. 7 groups of 10. And there would be, when it came to its full fruition, which it hasn't yet, but it's close, it will bring about, there will be 7 Sanhedrin councils that will govern these groups of 10 nations. And the individual nations will have their own leaders. And then over the top of it will be Israel, which is what the head of the Sanhedrin said. So we can go here. Let's see. See if I can find that article again. It may take a minute here. The Israel Forever Foundation. 70 nations of the world, so here you go. Refers to a global humanity as the 70 nations. This enumeration comes from the biblical Tower of Babel. Okay, so they're even digging into it too. I hadn't seen this article yet. So this is big for them. This is actually pretty big for them. Let's see if it says that. 70 National, September 2019. No. It was a specific article talking about it. Let me pause for a second and look this up so I'm not wasting y'all's time. Okay. So here's an article here from Israel 365. The 70 Nation Sacrifice on the Mount of Olives, a personal account. Please don't mind all the pop-ups. These pop-ups are ridiculous. They wonder why people don't visit their websites. All right, the Sanhedrin is advocating for the establishment of an organization of 70 nations based on Mount Zion as part of this effort. Facilitated an animal sacrifice to renew the covenant that Noah made in the name of all mankind with God when he exited the ark. That sacrifice took place on Thursday on the Mount of Olives. I reported on the event and would like to give a personal account here, but first, I feel I must begin with several disclaimers. He gives a disclaimer for Christians. At the conference, I met with the delegates from South America. The overwhelming love for Israel that is flowing out of South America is astounding and is something I would very much like to understand. So I was disappointed when they told me they would not attend the sacrifice. Well, I mean, as a Christian, you probably shouldn't attend it because we know what the ramifications of this are pretty big. They explained that for them, Jesus was the final sacrifice that atoned for their sins. I do not personally share this belief, nor will I ever. But the sweetness of their belief and where it takes them for their service of God touched me deeply. They did not attend, but neither did they condemn the event. I believe it is because they understood the event for what it was. The sacrifice was a reenactment of the sacrifice described explicitly in the Bible in Genesis, and he quotes Genesis 8:20 through 21. It was not a sin offering, it was a burnt offering just as Noah's was. Now, the problem is, they didn't do it on an altar. It was just on the Mount of Olives. Noah's original sacrifice wasn't on the Mount of Olives. So, what they did, it wasn't correct, and it wasn't for the right reasons, because this 70 Nation Coalition is, oh my gosh, get out of here. So here's the Noahide laws that they renewed. Now, these Noahide laws are in every nation's, well, almost every nation's law books, even ours. George Bush, Daddy Bush, he signed them into an education deal and put them in. These Noahide laws are in there to be activated at a moment's notice. To be activated at a moment's notice. So they're already there. All this stuff, I feel sorry for the people that are going to be in the tribulation. They're going to have to try to abide by this stuff. And what's hidden in here is big time. No idol worship. That means you can't worship Jesus too. You got to look deeper into this because it all comes out of the Talmud. You look at the Talmud and what it says, oof, and that's Babylonian text. Now that gets into Mystery Babylon and who I think Mystery Babylon is. The sacrifice was absolutely halalically correct. No, it wasn't, because it should have been done on an actual altar made to God, and yet it wasn't. It was just done right there on the ground. Actually, it was done in a place where a lot of Christians come to worship. It was kind of spitting in their face a little bit. But yeah, this is pretty interesting here. You can look up this title for yourself and see and read the rest of that. I'm not going to get too deep into that. Nations invited for animal sacrifice on Mount of Olives. I can't find that other one. That other article. It's on the Jerusalem Post or Israel 365. I thought it was Israel 365. But anyway, you can look that up yourself. It happened in September of 2019 when they had done this. Here you have this article actually talking about it. It's pretty inflammatory. The guy that has a YouTube channel, Rise, it's RI$E. He's had some big changes in his life here recently in his channel, but he covered that. I don't know if he deleted it or not, but he actually covered that when it happened in 2019. He was there, and they've actually banned him from Israel since this has happened, just this year. But he actually asked the head of the Sanhedrin on video. He had it filmed, and he asked him, well, if it's going to be 7 groups, with 10 nations underneath him, 7 councils, who's going to run it all? And he said Israel, of course. Mystery Babylon rides on the dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. I'm just, spitballing here, but seems like they openly admitted what the Bible says. Okay, let's go back to here. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of easy to see it once you see it, that what this is talking about is a coalition of nations, and there's going to be a leader over this. But we're just in Daniel 7. We haven't gotten into the other stuff yet. So here's your beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. You see how easily you can get into some serious study here. And I don't want us to lose our place. So you guys can do a lot of your own research. Like I said, this won't be an exhaustive study. But that's that beast with 7 heads and 10 horns in verse 7. Now, Daniel 8. I was considering the horns. He was considering the horns on this thing. What were these horns? He knew, because this is how things worked back then, he knew what the meaning was behind that, and he was considering them. There was another horn, a little one, coming up from among the 10. So, if you have, or coming up, if you have these 7 groups of 10, and in one of those groups of 10, a horn comes up and pushes out a few. I think it says here pushes out 3. A little one coming up from among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. And there, in this horn, were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words. Now, we know that's Satan. That's the Antichrist. Right? Now, we're going to see a lot more of this in Daniel 8, and it's going to shock you in Daniel 8 where it looks like he comes from. But here you have these 10 groups, or these 7 groups of 10 nations. Ironically, we as a nation, U.S., are aligned with Israel in one of those groups. We're right up close to the center of it. But we're in one of those groups. Now, our group doesn't have 10 full nations yet, but if America was to break up into 4 pieces, that would make 10 nations for our group. Just saying, some of this is going to chase over into Daniel 8. You'll see that next video, but there's a lot there. And the theory I have on Daniel 8 and what that is, and I think I can prove it, is going to blow you away. Everybody and their brother has told me, oh no, that already happened. Okay, well, Daniel 7 hadn't happened yet, and Daniel 9 hadn't happened yet. How can we say Daniel 8 has already happened? It doesn't make sense, because it talks about the exact same thing in the exact same time frame. We'll get to that. Okay. So, this little horn is going to come up and push 3 other nations out of the way. Basically, he's going to take control over those 3 nations. He'll kick those leaders out, overthrow them, and take control of those 3 nations. So, we'll go back and we'll do a quick refresher when I do the next video, because you're going to need to remember this. Now, the Ancient of Days. Now we jump to the throne room of God. Notice how we change subjects between 2 verses. Completely different subject. So what is this here? This is the rising of these coalition of nations. We have the lion with the eagle's wings. Eagle's wings are plucked off. We have a bear devouring much flesh. So look at what's happening today and what these represent the nations. The eagle, America. The lion, Great Britain, England. The bear, Russia. 3 ribs, don't know what ribs those are, probably Ukraine and a couple others. I mean, it's all happening. We can see it right now. Then we have the leopard, and it has 4 wings of a bird, and it has 4 heads. So it's a multitude of nations groups. So we have these groups here, all doing things, all playing parts. I tend to think this leopard one with the bird, I think that's somewhere in the Middle East. It could be Iran, I don't know. It could be Turkey. So, it could be the United Emirates too. Then he saw a 4th beast. So there's 4 beasts. The dragon, the 10. All of these groups are alive right now doing things. Some of these things listed here. All of these things right now are doing this. That bear, Russia, is out there trying to take over nations. I mean, they're out there fighting. So, I mean, this is big. We can see this all active right now, literally right now in the world. Notice what it jumps to after those things are active. I watched, verse 9, I watched until thrones were put in place. This is the Ancient of Days. He jumps to the throne room of God. Revelation 12, verse 5. I watched till thrones were put in place, and Revelation 5, by the way. This is the same scene Daniel sees that John sees in Revelation chapter 5. I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame, its wheels a burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated and the books were opened. That number only appears one other time in the Bible, as that is in the book of Revelation, chapter 5. Verse 11, then I looked and I heard the voice of many angels. He looked, didn't see nobody, but he heard angels. He didn't see angels, he heard them. A lot of people say it was just angels. Okay? Just because he heard them doesn't mean that that's what was standing there. He heard angels around the throne, the living creatures, second group of people, the elders, a third group, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. Back to Daniel. A fiery stream issued forth and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated and the books were opened. What books were opened? Oh, maybe this is the Bema seat. I don't know. I think that 10,000 times 10,000 is the church. People will say in the Revelation chapter 5 that that's just angels. Okay. Well, in Hebrews 11, I think. I can't remember where the verse is now, but it's in Hebrews. And it gives you the layout of the general assembly. It lists all these groups, and it lists the church separate from all the groups. Yet when you go to Revelation chapter 5, you see all those groups listed in Revelation chapter 5. The general assembly. I think this is the church, and it says to an innumerable company of angels in Hebrews. Okay, well 10,000 times 10,000 is 100 million. Thousands and thousands, it equals to about anywhere from 4 to 6 million. If you look at a general calculation of it. It actually could be anywhere from 100,000 to 6 million or something like that. So you're looking at about 105 million, 106 million people here. Well, that's not an innumerable company because you can count it. We can figure this out. Innumerable would be billions. Because we have a second instance where in Revelation chapter 7, where it talks about the great multitude. I'm sorry, Revelation chapter 6, great multitude. No, chapter 7, yeah. That no man could number. That would be billions. Maybe 2 billion? I don't know. There's 2.7 billion Christians in the world today, roughly. Just thinking out loud here a little bit. But I think that's the church in the throne room. Revelation chapter 12, verse 5. 2 different children are being talked about in that chapter. Not 1, 2. Verse 11, I watched then because the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. Now, in Revelation chapter 12, what happens after that second child in verse 5 is raptured? Satan chases him up there, talking smack, starting a fight. Chases us. Remember that second child in chapter 12, verse 5 of Revelation. That second child is harpazoed. It literally says it. I'll show you in a minute. I watched till the beast was slain. This is that great battle. And its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. How long is that? A year and a half? Something like that? A season and a time? Interesting. Okay, let's run over to Revelation chapter 12, verse 5. A lot of people don't know about this. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Who is that? It's Jesus. Obviously it's Jesus. He's going to rule with a rod of iron. And her child, now this first child is capitalized because it's Jesus, and her child was caught up to God and his throne. Jesus was not caught up to heaven after his resurrection. If you read in Acts, Jesus ascended. He was received into heaven, if you go look at the original language. Now watch this. A lot of people don't know this. The first instance of child in verse 5, this is one verse. Huios, apparently a primary word, a son. We know that's Jesus, right? We know that's Jesus. Now here's what's interesting is when you look at the second instance of child, in the same verse, on the same subject, teknon, child, daughter, son. This is a group of kids. Or a child as in its different types of children. This is talking about two completely different groups of people here. One is Jesus, the other one is, I believe, the church. And the church was caught up, harpazo, caught away, catch, seize, away, up, pluck, pull, take by force. This second child, who is different than this first child, Jesus is the head, we're the body. This second child was caught up to heaven. Jesus was never caught up. He was received. They were waiting for him with the doors open. He was received to heaven. We get taken to heaven. Guys, almost no one talks about this. I don't know why the scholars today have not seen this yet, but they don't talk about this. That's two different children right there. Obviously, it's two different words. Talking about the same child in the same subject matter, and the second one was caught up to the throne of God. What did we just read in Revelation chapter 5? Seen in the throne room, 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands. Same scene in Daniel chapter 7, which we're currently reading. Now, watch this. Then the woman fled to the wilderness, where she was taking place prepared by God. We all believe that's Petra. They're actually preparing that area for what's going to happen, because even the Saudi Arabians believe this, that they should feed her there 1,260 days, 3.5 years. Second half of the tribulation. Verse 7, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, and he was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Daniel chapter 7, verse 11. I watched then, because the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. I watched till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. What you can see here in Daniel chapter 7 is you see, remember, what did he say in the first one? He wrote down the main facts. He didn't write down the details. What he's missing here, you can find in Revelation chapter 5. Revelation chapter 12. The details he missed are in the book of Revelation. These two books, I think, come pretty close to each other, parallel each other. Remember what he said up here? Then he wrote down the dream, telling the main facts, not all the details. So he's skipping. When you know that, you know he's skipping through stuff. He's skipping certain groups of things. He's just getting the main points. We can go to the book of Revelation and get a lot of those details. Some of the prophets talk about it too. Amazing. The Son of Man is given dominion. Verse 13. I was watching in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man. Is that one? I can't see it because let me change this. Oh, wait. Let's change the highlight color to something that's a little easier to see. Try aqua. Still can't see it because it's gray. Yeah, one like the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. That would be his return at the end of the tribulation. He came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion, I can't even see that. I should not have used this color. Let's try orange. There we go. Now we can see it. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom the one which shall not be destroyed. That's the millennial reign. So you see what Daniel's doing here. He's hitting the hot points. He's hitting the high points. He's hitting all the key things. Go to the book of Revelation, and you get a bunch of those details that he didn't cover. You just got to do a little research. Okay, now, verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit within my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near to one of those who stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. Daniel is, just like John, is standing there watching this. Verse 17, those great beasts which are four kings which arise out of the earth. So we don't have to speculate on who those beasts are. It tells you who those beasts are. Those great beasts which are four kings which arise out of the earth. There'll be four people that are going to be fighting each other. But, verse 18, the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. They're not going to win. Jesus Christ already did. Verse 19, then I wished to know the truth about the four beasts, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, with its teeth of iron and its nails of bronze, which devoured, broke in pieces, and trampled the residue with its feet. Verse 20, and the 10 horns that were on its head, and the other horn which came up, before which 3 fell, namely, the horn which had eyes and a mouth which spoke pompous words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows. Daniel wants to know what's going on here. See, we don't have to speculate, and a lot of people do because they don't read the second half of the chapter. Same thing happens in the book of Revelation. They'll read one part, forget to read the rest where it tells them what it is, and then they get it all wrong. Verse 21, I was watching, and the same horn was making war against the saints. Who does that? And prevailing against them. That's Satan. Until the Ancient of Days came, and a judgment was made in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom. That would be the millennial reign. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces. This is going to be the 70-nation coalition. Verse 24, the 10 horns are 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom. It's a kingdom, it's a group, but 10 kings are going to rise up out of it. And another shall rise after them. He shall be different from the first ones, and shall subdue 3 kings. That's the Antichrist. He's going to take over 3 and take their territory. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and laws. We know this is Satan, because this is completely, it told us it was, but it's completely describing what he's going to do. Shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that. It was the FedEx guy. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so verse 25. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time, times, and half a time. So the second half of the tribulation is when he's going to come in control. The second half of the tribulation is all the crazy stuff is going to happen. The second half of the tribulation is when the mark of the beast is coming. You got people saying now all this stuff about, the vaccine's the mark of the beast. This is the mark of the beast. That's the No. You have to be at the halfway point of the tribulation in order to have the mark of the beast. It's utter nonsense to come to that conclusion without looking at what the Bible tells you about that stuff. This isn't the only place where this is spoken. This is talked about in multiple places in prophecy. It will be the halfway mark of the tribulation when Satan indwells his guy, whoever that shall be. I already have my theory, and I might be able to prove it eventually. Don't know. And that's what he's going to do everything. He's going to change times and laws. He's going to cut off the sacrifice. He's going to make everybody worship him. You will have to take a mark. It says in there that it's going to be excised. It's a mark cut into your skin. You'll have to have a mark. Here or here to show allegiance. All this stuff people are talking about now, none of it is the mark. None of it. It can't be. We're not at the halfway point of the tribulation. See, they don't read the scriptures and they don't understand what they're doing because they don't look at the details that are in there. Pay attention to it. They don't read it. I mean, I'm even only going halfway into what I normally do, just to keep the video somewhat a decent time. But the further we go, the more we're going to get into more detail in it. He shall intend to change times and laws. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time, times, and half a time. 3.5 years. Not the first 3.5, the second 3.5. But, verse 26, the court shall be seated. He's jumping back. The court shall be seated, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it forever. He's going to be judged unworthy. Then the kingdom and dominion, verse 27, and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven shall be given to the people, the saints of the Most High. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. We're going to rule in the millennial reign. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, Jesus, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. All dominions, everybody, the whole earth. So he's giving, basically what he's giving an abridged version of the events that are going to happen from when the nations, the beasts rise, and they already are rising. It's already happening. The two of them we witnessed in 2019 be born. Literally witnessed them be born. 70 Nation Coalition and the revised Old Roman Empire. That would be the... What was it? The leopard with the 4 wings. Something else. It's been a while. I did videos on this a couple years ago. It's been a while. But all that is already happening. All that is taking place. Oh, it was the leopards with the 4 heads. That's the one. That these 2 beasts are born. Russia, the bear, is already there. Great Britain, that happened before Brexit. Whenever we didn't tell them what to do anymore, they did their own thing. That's all that's happened. All 4 beasts are active right now. They're young, but they're active. You know, when you see that and you see those articles and you read that and you realize that's talking about what's in the Bible, it's a little scary at first. All 4 of those beasts are active on the earth right now. It just goes to show you how close we are, because we've never had anything like this before, ever in history. Ever. And here it is. So Daniel has had an extremely rough night. To have visions like this, and like I said, he only gave, remember what he said in the first verse, he only gave the main facts. He didn't give all the details. If he'd have given all the details, woo, I would love to have read the other details. How interesting God made him not put them all down. How interesting that God didn't inspire him to write all of it down, but just the main parts. And we can go to the book of Revelation and get some more details. Verse 28, this is the end of the account. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly troubled me, and my countenance changed, but I kept the matter in my heart. It's pretty rough stuff to give to somebody like Daniel. But look at all the information that's here. Now, it doesn't stop here, because now we're going to go to Daniel 8, next video. Daniel 8 almost parallels this, but gives more details as to what's going to happen concerning what we just read here. And we'll bounce back and forth between those in the book of Revelation. There's a lot of information here, guys. And I think Daniel chapter 8, I haven't found anybody that talks about this. What I read there, and there's one word in particular that makes me believe something very different about what we see in there. I think it's actually talking about the United States. I'll show you that in the next video. But if that's the case, we're witnessing it happening right now. And the events that we see unfolding, the fighting with Iran, Syria, Damascus, they hit Damascus hard again. It's about to be wiped out. Only 25% of Damascus is inhabited. It's about to be done with. A massive airstrike. They've sent all kinds of planes and stuff over there. And who's going to be running the show? That goat has a notable horn. Who's going to be running the show? I think I know who that is. I think if you think hard enough about it, you'll realize who that might be too. We'll see. I'll show you guys when we get there, because there's some interesting things told about that horn, that notable horn, that leader. Interesting things. And if it's what I think it is, we know exactly where the Antichrist is going to come from. Literally know exactly where he's going to come from. And might know when. We'll get to that in the next video. But look at how much we've covered here. Now, again, don't take my word for it. Go look at it yourself. Do a little bit of digging. Look at the original language. Look at the book of Revelation. This all ties very closely together. There's a lot here. And this stuff here, the Ancient of Days reigns, when you go to the book of Revelation and look in Revelation chapter 5 concerning this, It's pretty astounding. And then I forget what verse it is in Hebrews. Let me look it up. That way you can go look at that too, because that was very interesting. Hebrews 12, 23, 29. To the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, to the spirits of just men. Oh no, where's the other part of it? Let's go to Hebrews 12 and just take a look at that real quick. I'll show you that verse. That way you can write that down and look at that yourself. It's really, really wild. Hebrews 12. Here we go. So Hebrews 12:22, but you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. Technically, I guess that would be the throne room. To an innumerable company of angels. So that 10,000 times 10,000 is not angels. John looked, but he only heard. Daniel looked, didn't know who he was looking at, and just counted the number. Why a specific number on that? It's not angels. Innumerable company. 10,000 times 10,000 is 100 million. That's numerable. We can count that. To the general assembly. General assembly would be everybody there that's there in the throne room. The church, another group, of the firstborn who are registered in heaven, to God the judge of all, the one that sits on the throne, to the spirits of just men made perfect. To Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant. So he's giving you a layout of who's in the throne room. Go to Revelation chapter 5. Who's in the throne room? You see that group. All those groups right there. You can count them out. That 10,000 times 10,000 is us. I firmly believe it. I would love somebody to prove it differently, but I firmly believe that's us right there. So that's interesting. It's very interesting. What else? Oh, I was going to take you to Hebrews 9:28. So I'm going to close with some encouragement. Hebrews 9:28. So Christ was offered once to bear the sins of many. To those who eagerly wait for him, to the people who are watching for Christ, to those who are waiting for the rapture, he will appear a second time, apart from sin, for salvation. So Jesus came first time for sin. That was 2,000 years ago. When is his second coming? At the end of the tribulation. This is telling us there's a third one. So you have 2,000 years ago for sin, the end of the tribulation for judgment and for taking his kingdom, but a middle time to come get his church. I've had people over and over the last 4.5 years say, you show me in the Bible where it says there's three comings. Hebrews 9:28. Came for sin. He's going to come again for salvation, and then he's going to come again for judgment. There's three appearances right here. Because he's coming a second time for us. He came the first time to save us. He's coming the second time to redeem us. Three appearances right here, Hebrews 9:28. Where does it say in the Bible it's a pre-tribulation rapture? Well, evidently this is going to be before the judgment. It would have to be if it's three. Otherwise, he would have to come twice at the end of the tribulation. Doesn't make sense. So here's encouragement for all of you who are tired, all of you who are worn out. He's going to come. Keep eagerly waiting for him. He's coming a second time for us. We can prove this with the scriptures. Now, to those who don't believe, they're not going to see this. That's to their loss. That's to their detriment. But to those of us who do believe, this is hope. This is strength. This is encouraging. Because we know he's coming for his church. And we know where we stand when all these things unfold. When he takes the scroll from God and he starts breaking those seals, we're standing there watching him do it. We're cheering him on. We're glorifying him in the throne room of heaven with God. The number 100 million plus a few million over the last 2,000 years, that's pretty shocking that it's that low. But we are the bride of Christ. We are of this group of people. Many are already up there. The rest of us are waiting here. I think it's amazing. that we can go to the scriptures and prove all these false doctrines wrong. We can shut down all of the nonsense that these people keep spitting out, trying to take our encouragement away from us. Well, I'm not going to let them do it. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm recording this stuff. That's why I'm showing you guys. Not exhaustive. I can't do it exhaustively. It would take too long. You can't get that much information in it. I encourage you to do your own studies on this and look deeper into this. Don't take other people's opinions as your opinion. Look for yourself. Come to your own conclusion between you and Jesus Christ as you read this word. And you will see very closely to what I see, I believe. Not that I'm right, but that that's what he's showing everybody who believes. And it's so amazing. And just wait, we haven't even gotten into it yet. The next couple of chapters are big. There's a lot here. We're going to do our best, because I got a lot of stuff to show you guys. And like I said, it's hard to do a video in here, but I'm going to do what I can to try to get as much out to you guys as possible and to help y'all see, because it's so encouraging to see how this stuff is unfolding. And a lot of people today are saying, oh no, we were wrong, it's going to be down the road a ways. Okay? Well, if what I'm seeing, well, we see all these people, all these entities alive today. All these groups here, all these animals that they're linking to nations, these are all active right now, doing what they're supposed to be doing. It says when it gets close to the end, Israel will be compassed about on all sides by enemies. They're literally surrounded by missile platforms right now. They're going to have a great big battle at the beginning of the tribulation in the Golan Heights. Almost all of Iran's military and some of Russia's are up there at the Golan Heights waiting to attack them at any moment. They know where the Valley of Armageddon is, and they've calculated it out. All armies of the world can fit in the Valley of Armageddon. It's all true. It's all coming true. We can bank on this. But how encouraging to see all this happening and know they can say what they want, but I'm looking at the world station, looking at this, it's like, wait a minute. And when we get into Daniel 8, you're going to be blown away at what's happening right now and what they're talking about and what it talks about. And you can see up to direct parallels there. And if it's right, if what I'm seeing is right, if my conclusion is correct, we're about to witness something amazing. I'm waiting on two specific events. Trump getting reelected and an airstrike on Iran and Damascus at the same time. Next video, I'll elaborate more on that. But as for now, I love you all very much. I thank you all for watching. I hope this will inspire you to dig deeper and learn more. A lot of people think they've already got it figured out. I think they're horribly wrong. There's way more to pull out of this book. And this book has only become understandable in the last 20 years, 30 years. Really in the last 5, maybe 6. It's really become open. And I think it's opening up more. God is revealing more. So let's keep looking and see what else we can find. I'll see you guys in the next video.